Everything in New York goes.
Everything in New York goes bang. City bike rental dock, bang. Times Square midnight strike clock, bang. Wall Street steep deep stock drop, bang. The vibrations of an investment banker's head cements on the sidewalk after jumping from a building in debt and dread. Now he, she, they, them, dead. Everything in New York goes bang. Single bar car crotch hop, bang. Fine to find fun, young, hot thought, bang. Too tight contraceptive electric bike pop, bang. The sound of embryos crying in your head. Phantom echoes of spontaneous parenthood spawn a lifelong what if because of the need to jump from club to bed. Everything in New York goes bang. High-priced restaurant, sticker shop shock, bang. Birthday brunch, balloon party pop, bang. Tableside robbery, they're not all bad cops. The noise of wailing police sirens, a flaring, random rogue gunshots firing like a Karen, while all I want and am caring for is food fairly fed. Everything in New York goes bang. Late night raw enforcement, unwarranted no knock, bang. Unregistered out-of-state plate, planted AK-47 gat clock, bang. Trap doors, steel gates, latch keys all flop, bang. Top-notch car alarm securities do nothing to crime stop, bang. You say it's all bought and paid for with your hard-earned bread. Therefore it's no one else's, it's all yours and only yours, kept in good stead. But in this city, that's as real as a guilty verdict at a driving while black stop sign bleeding red. Because everything in New York goes. I was covered in blood, kicking and screaming, I was covered in blood. There was flashing lights in my eyes. I was blinded by halogen, shrieking for oxygen. All kinds of uniformed officials grabbing me, slapping me, bending my bones like rubber in some kind of supernatural interrogation. And then they brought out the hoses. And they started spraying me down. Water pressure, punishing pressure. I could barely open my eyes, a mix of chlorine and fluoride choking on the liquid blast, the flow, it knew no stop. I was ready to fight back, but I didn't know who to hit, what was happening. Instructions being barked out at me in a language I didn't understand. Unfamiliar noises pummeling my ears. Decisions being made for me. I had no choices, no way to know. What kind of a world am I living in that would be so rough? Kicking and screaming, covered in blood. And then they lifted me. They lofted me, tossed me up in the air, and bang, I landed in the softest, safe space possible, into the loving arms of my mother, Jean Catherine Sermola, surrounded by the soulful cooing of my father, Saul Sam Galinsky. I was calm and resting on my mom's breast. The timing of her heartbeats kept me in a fetal trance, a tranquil pacing that made me want to prance, a little baby joy of dance where I cry and call out, I am born, I'm alive, I am born, Robert Traeger Galinsky. But what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Not if you ask my mother, who drilled into me, your name is Robert. That's what you tell people to call you, not Bob or Bobby. It's Rob or Robert. Don't let anybody call you Bob or Bobby. Maybe someday you'll meet a nice girl and she'll call you Robbie. But not Bob or Bobby, ever. So Bob and Bobby, according to my mom, do not smell like a rose. That's right, Robert. Nothing wrong with Bob or Bobby, just, I know. And I think one reason that she held tight to the name is because I was named after my father's father, Rachmiel Galinsky. That's right, Robert. He was the Jewish immigrant tailor on the Italian side of town in Hartford, Connecticut, 1920s. He was a familiar sight, riding his bicycle with his handmade designs and alterations slung over his shoulder on the way to deliver to some customer somewhere a custom piece of clothing. And you remember what he told you about what happened to him at Ellis Island? I sure do, Mom. The name Rachmiel was too alien and challenging for the officers on Ellis Island to process. So, your name is Rachmiel. What? Rachmiel. Rachel? No, Shriha. That's Yiddish for I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It's Rachmiel. No, I'm sorry. It's Robert. Welcome to America, Robert Galinsky. And with that, the Ellis Island officials stamped my grandfather's papers. Bang! And Rachmiel is Robert, and so am I. And I held to my mom's advice. Thanks, Robert. Or her orders. Robert. And I went through life as Robert. But when I moved to New York City in the mid-80s, I knew I needed some kind of stage name because I was performing lots of poetry and theater. And I wanted something creative like some of my friends, like Kid Lucky, Broken Glass, Spiro X. And so I found the answer when I was rehearsing with three really great artists, Che, Blast, and Tebow, stage names. And I asked the Blast, I said, Blast, what's the name of our band? We got music, we got poetry. And he said in his baritone Bronx accent, ain't no band name. I said, what do you mean? Ain't no band name. Name of what we doing is Galinsky. What do you mean? We got a gig coming up, man. We need a band. You heard me. You're the poet. We play the music. This is Galinsky. Galinsky? Galinsky. And from that moment on, it stuck. Bang. Galinsky. Not Bob, not Bobby, not Rob, Robbie, or Robert, not even Rachmiel. Galinsky. That was my name. And as time went on, I reveled in the fact that I went by one name, my name, not a pseudonym, not a nom de plume, not a stage name, my name, which meant everything I said and did was represented by Galinsky. Nothing to hide behind, whether it was good or bad. Bang. Robert Galinsky. Yeah, but for the stage, Galinsky, Mom. Okay. Now, was I tempted to go the route of Eunice Wyman, Peter Hernandez, Farrokh Bulsara, Eric Bishop, or Reginald Kenneth Dwight, or even Robert Zimmerman? You guys know who that is, right? Let's go to the glossary. I got the glossary right here. Robert Zimmerman, Bob Dylan, Eunice Wyman, Eunice Wyman, Nina Simone, Peter Hernandez, Bruno Mars. Whose alarm is that? Somebody's got to feed their cat or something. Turn your damn phone off! Bang! Peter Hernandez is Bruno Mars. Farrokh Bulsara? Freddie Mercury. Eric Bishop? Jamie Foxx. Reginald Kenneth Dwight? Elton John. But I'm Galinsky, a curious Caucasian kid born into the whiteness protection program called the Suburbs of Connecticut. And I celebrate two birthdays. One, January 3rd, 1965, which you just witnessed, kicking and screaming. And the second, that one, I was born to my mom of Roman Catholic Italian descent and my dad with his Russian Jewish roots. That was my first birthday. And I celebrate a second birthday, December 6th, 1988, the day I moved to New York City. And it was like a scene out of Sanford and Son. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bam, bum, bum, bam, bam. If you know it, bum, bum, bam, come on. Bum, bum, bam, bum, 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 bam. All my belongings were packed in the back of a 1953 Ford Flathead pickup truck. Rusted fenders, boxes overflowing out of the back. And my best friend, Robin, was driving, and my little brother, Philip, was in the passenger seat next to him. Bang! In that truck behind me, where I was in front in the car, leading the way with my dad, Saul. He was driving, and I couldn't stop talking the whole way. And everything I owned was in that beat-up truck. And I got $600 cash in my pocket. I got 3 months rent paid in advance on a little tiny room carved out of an abandoned storefront on 149 Ludlow Street. And my goals were to write and act and write and act and write and act. And my first night in New York, I quickly found out that this town and its habits existed long before I got here. And as part of my New York baptism, I learned that in order for me to get into my home, on certain nights, I would occasionally have to stand in line with the heroin users who were buying from the restaurant one door down. The line of assorted preppies, trust fund kids, hedge fund managers, junkies, individuals who use intravenous drugs. That line was usually about 15 people long, and if I tried to walk past the line to enter my storefront, I'd get screamed on, in some cases grabbed and pulled back into the line. Bang! Hey, where you going? Oh, I'm just going home. Yeah, well, you can wait in line like everyone else. You don't understand, I live here. Yeah, I live here too, probably longer than you. Now get in line. No, really, I live here. This is my building. Don't make me raise it up. You own the building? No, I mean my building like I live here. I just want to go home. Yeah, well, you got to wait in line with the rest of us. We all came here to go home. And some nights I found it was easier and safer to just get in line. And when it was my turn, I'd make the person's day behind me because I'd walk past the dealer's door and then skip into mine a few steps down and hustle into my home. Oh, Robert, be careful. I'm good, Mom. Yeah, good strategy, Robert, but I'm your mother and that makes me nervous. It's okay, Mom. Once inside the storefront, I enjoyed the strong scent of oil paints because my roommate had a studio in there. He was a painter, John Curran, an inspiration, painting from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning almost every night of the week. And at the time, John was just beginning his fine art career, and his paintings weren't selling for what they do now. If you know John Curran, they sell upwards to $2 million a painting. Everything in New York walks by. I didn't get a piece of John's early work. Should have grabbed something while I was there, but who knew? But I did get a piece of his work ethic, and his focus was my focus. As I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote in this cute little bohemian chateau, the mystic fumes of linseed oil and pigments permeating the air 24/7. My typewriter whacking out pages in the deep dark night, all situated next to a thriving drug den on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And if there's anybody from out of town you don't understand, that part of town is also known as the East Village, also known as Alphabet City, also known as the LES, also known as Lower East Side. Robert, it sounds very romantic, Ma? No, confusing and dangerous. I didn't know any of this. Well, now you do. I quickly found work as a bartender at a gigantic restaurant called America on 18th Street. And then I was waiting tables at the West Village iconic restaurant, Cornwall England Cafe. And I soon realized I wasn't satisfied burning away all these hours at a job that didn't really make me feel that great, just for some cash. And in a stroke of luck, I overheard one of the customers saying that she needed an assistant to cast some TV commercials. And so, as Galinsky is known to do, I quickly inserted myself into the situation, and the opportunity turned into 5 years of casting television commercials. And it was in that 5 years I saw how terrible people behave terribly in show business. There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing. Okay, that's enough, right? Nobody joined in on that one. Well, all right. All right, so here we go. All right. It made me sick to think I was working at a job with terrible people that really wasn't contributing to the world in the way I wanted to, but I wanted to continue to make my art. So I sought out avenues to apply what I love: improvisational theater, poetry, playwriting, and within 6 months I had established myself as a freelance art teacher doing workshops in over 40 different public schools throughout New York. I was facilitating conflict resolution workshops using theater and film, and in all 5 boroughs. And I told the people that hired me, I said, send me to where it's needed most. Put me in the most troubled educational institutions in the so-called worst neighborhoods you could possibly place me in. Let's do poetry with the people. That would be special education, Mr. Galinsky. Well, back then, the term special education didn't carry that stigma that it does today. Now it's called compensatory education, or learning challenged populations. Excuse me, Mr. Galinsky, special education, are you sure? 1,000%. This was my Peace Corps work. This was me giving back without having to fly halfway around the world. I could make an impact locally and then fulfill my desire making art, doing shows at Mercury Lounge, ABC No Rio, CBGB, Wetlands, all these great places, while also helping people in need. And my requests were obliged. the white suburban kid was now immersing himself into the ghettos of South Bronx, Red Hook, Cypress Hills, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy. I remember this was in the late 80s. There were no Whole Foods or gourmet garages or IKEA in those neighborhoods or Starbucks, and the only targets over there were rival gangbangers shooting in the streets, stray bullets killing grandmothers, and making martyrs out of public school principals like Patrick F. Daly, not to be forgotten. And the 212 area codes, they were still available. So I got my wish, and I was sent to where the wild schools are. Where the wild schools are. Gotta write that down, gotta get that memorized. Serious incidents on a clipboard, bulletin board, the worst schools in the system. Walt Whitman, PS 246. Louis Armstrong, PS 143. Patrick Daly, PS 15. Count Basie, PS 72. Oh, but Count Basie is a bad school. Count Basie is a bad school. Ooh, 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 where the wild schools are. Ooh, 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 where the wild schools are. Bang! Danny Kaye, PS 140. Gun possession on a post-it note, Katha Cato. Gun possession on a post-it note, David Leslie. Gun possession on a post-it note, Richard Stratton. Gun possession on a post-it note, Althea Gibson. Where the wild schools are. Happiness in those hallowed halls of cinder block pink, yellow, blue, pale green, paint chip windows, fence grate windows, dim light bulbs of leading to classroom of mix and match faculty staff, penitentiary dreary, where we come to move, improve your hat, cap a tooth with gold, be bold, avoid a white boy with a baseball bat, where the wild schools are. Ooh, 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 where the wild schools are. I know you want to do this one with me. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, oh, where the wild schools are. Jacked up, jacked down, all around, lunchroom, stomach wound, jumping and marching in lines against whistles and megaphones. Your mother's on the phone, on the intercom, broken nose. Oh, say, can you see? Assalamu alaikum. I pledge allegiance to the bang. Give me a hall pass to LeBron James High. Give me a hall pass to Amadou Diallo High, Bell Hooks High, Mikhail Banks High, William Kunstler High, Carlin Sick High, Latasha Harlan's High, Cooley High. Take me from where the wild schools are and fly me to the moon. Let me play amongst the stars. Let me see what school is like on Jupiter or Mars. In other words, ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, that sounds a little like Sinatra, Rob. Yeah, bad Sinatra, Mom. Well, you're trying. It's trying. Now, it was at these schools and through these kids, their parents, the neighborhoods, the community, their guardians, that I learned about myself, my prejudices, my assumptions, my country. And as I teach my way through over 40 different New York City public schools in the late 80s, early 90s, mostly special compensatory education, I see the relentless pressure that is put on our young people in so many big and small ways in these schools. So much so that a simple question posed to two of my students in a hallway, in passing between classes, takes on a whole new burden. What is 7 times 7? More Sinatra, Rob? You tell me, Mom. 2 5th grade girls of color, 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 color. 1 light skin, 1 dark skin, scar over her right eye, pocketbook slung over her shoulder, were on assignment to escort me to the lunch lady to get me my ticket for lunch. On the way, a freckled, speckled, red-haired, bearded, balding, frail math teacher, spying ahead of himself, moving towards us down the hallway, stops being my escorts and asks one of them, scar over her right eye, "What's 7 times 7? She turns to her friend and laughs, She looks like she's gonna guess, fakes almost guessing, then she laughs again. So he repeats his question, this time in a snappy, sappy, Sinatra-like song. What, my dear, is 7 times 7? 5 times 5 is. 6 times 6 is. What is 7 times 7? Her eyes roll backwards. Only the white is available. Pupils hide from the teacher. As her friend runs, shrieking maniacally, roaring deliriously, echoing desperately down the hall, and we pass into the office, where she's no longer hysterical, but she stalls us with smiles and giggles as she braces herself against the last swivels of Mr. Numerical's swinging door, and now he waits for her to perform, to turn the trick. She laughs. His face begins to change shape. Pressure builds. She laughs. More pressure. Sweat forms on his forebrow. She laughs until his shirt buttons begin to stretch. She laughs, and suddenly his chest bursts open. Fountains of numbers spurting through his sweater vest. 6 times 6, 3 times 3, 4 times 4. Like blood, mathematical figures pouring upward, number after number after number, piling onto one another as they hit the arithmetic floor. The young lady leans into the timetables, searching for an answer. First, she finds a 7. Then another, next an equal sign, and then an X. Sifting through the number rubble, she thinks she sees the factor. She grabs it, clutching close. She whispers, 49.
And she sings it like salvation.
All is silent except for the rustling of numbers still settling at her feet as she repeats herself.
49. And she sings it like salvation. 49, 49, and the great white marching band in her head, the exploits in her head, the conquest in her head, the occupation in her head. 49, it's on the back of a milk carton. 49, it's westward expansion. It's a Michael Jordan logo. 49, it's in Marky Mark's jeans. Remember, this was 1989, so some of these references are going to be really, really old. It's an MTV music video. Everybody's dancing. It's time to get to the cafeteria to celebrate. 49, 49. Suddenly, 8 times 8. What? Teacher steps in front of her. 8 times 8. She scowls. Can I revel my success with lunch and recess? 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. Quiet again, but for the buzzing of the main office secretary's background gossip. As her eyes, full and wet, fall into the equations at her feet. Slowly, she pulls from her purse her hand in the shape of a pistol. She points her finger index at the teacher, pokes him under the armpit, balances him there, calculating the moment before she spins him in a whirlwind of plaid and corduroy and dumps him in the bin left to calculate for himself. She smiles, she laughs. He smiles, she laughs. Then she turns the barrel on herself and pushes it against her temple. This is the rubric that trembles inside as she moves the cylinder a few inches south, and she glides the equalizer into her mouth, laughing imaginary bullets down her throat, into her belly. Bang. This is 7 times 7, 6 times 6, 5 times 5, 4 times 4, 3 times 3, 2 times 2, 1 times 1. What is 7 times 7? Now, this is a far cry from where I live in Alphabet City, the LES. Downtown, replete with its artists, its troubadours, bon vivants, its crusties, where no one's thinking about public school students, where anyone can seem chill if they just play the East Village game, and they can pull out a poem, just like me, and they can be East Village hip. East Village hip. I got the nose ring, ear ring, eye ring, rib ring, lip ring, brow ring, hip ring, belly button ring, ding-a-ling-a-ling. I do the clip-on bling. And when a breeze blows through Tompkins Square Park, you can hear the wind sing. See my breath cling to the skin and chains hanging off my bones and dope body. I'm East Village hip. I took 3 weeks of karate.
I'll make your mother say, oh, he's got $1,000 pair of Gucci jeans on, and with a rip. Yeah, because I'm East Village hip. I'm always prepped to self-inflict. I speed read through alphabet blues like yesterday's news tattooed across my chest. Thick my skin like paper-thin blotter for ink. My armpits stink. I wash my eyes, my balls in city sewage sinks. I grow the patchy prism hair. I wear the mohawks and no bro talk comes near. I used to think, well, I continue to think, that I go from barber to barber to instill fear. Cause I'm East Village hip. Don't give me no lip! I got my ATM card. Makes me real hard. My mind is battle scarred, boxcar. Snoozing outside at night, sleeping bag ain't debugged. Another reason I like to get drugged. Until I wake up on my back, I wake up in the grass. It's really freaking whack and truly awfully crass. But don't worry, I won't take it too far. I got no fright. Somewhere I got keys to a car. And if it looks like a fight or there comes a January freeze, winter, please. My East Village mantra is retreat, reprieve, retreat. Back to the suburbs of Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, or wherever I come from, because I'm not dumb, I'm just hip. East Village hip. I often quote quotes from rock bands and quacks, radical thinkers with arms on their tracks. See, I'm a Cliff Note stinker from way, way back. I know how to tinker, and I once tried crack. Well, actually, I dumped it in the gutter when my fellow hipster turned his back, but don't give me no flack! I told you I'm ATM hard. I'm in QR mode. I got the Venmo codes. That's the sales from the crypto Bitcoin Sonic load. $40, $60 at a pop. I got multiple piercings that open doors to any plug scored cop. Ecstasy, body bag, smacks, dope, scope, skag, blue dream, China white, red rage, K2, and I ain't trying to brag, but from hand-rolled joints, I still do drag. Because I'm East Village hip. I'm all these people. Bob Dylan, Patti Smith, Lou Reed, Jim Carroll, Gary Sick, Thule Kupferberg, The Misfits, Jimi Hendrix, Brett Selmont, Electric Lady, The Ramones, Eric Grossman, Blondie, CBGB's, Basquiat. I'm a Mary Baraka before he was Leroy Jones. All twisted up into a sack of pre-rolled bones. So take your pick, have a look, have a lick, pull a blunt, smoke a bird, sniff the skunk, make it quick, cause I'm a punk and a cunt. And everything we hate about that C word. And if you haven't already heard, this shtick is a stunt. I just want to get home before I get my butt whipped. Bang. Because I need a fix and a win. I swing and I miss and the shit is chagrin. So I'm going to flip on the tourist tip. Spend some cash, get some snacks, weigh some stacks, summons an Uber, and get back to where I once belonged. My mother's place. So yeah, please don't tell anyone my mom's crib's a penthouse on the Upper West with a crystal staircase and a spiral balcony. And yeah, it's got a big brick fireplace, the best. And yeah, I'll be all alone away from the Lower East Side cacophony to rest, coiled up by the fireside with a Ziploc bag of some delicious crystal meth. Because I'm a mess, I'm a myth. I'm a bindle of moans and a bundle of blame. And I tap 2 glass pipes like ruby red slippers of Dorothy's fame, whispering from myself, far from the Lower East Side. There's no place like home. There's no place like home when you're East Village hip. Somewhere over the rainbow in the East Village of New York. Now, I would rather be one of the many mayors of the Lower East Side, not a poser in disguise. And after living there for over 30 years, occasionally I get called the mayor of the East Village. Now, if you've lived here long enough in this neighborhood, you probably are one, or you know one, of the many mayors in our neighborhood. And to name a few, there's the mayor of 6th Street and Avenue C, a retired pimp with a master's in street degree. Then there's the mayor of 4th and A, her hair like community garden hay, a little beige, a little brown, a lot of gray. The mayor of B and 3, she's a sex worker out of work. We don't say laid off for obvious reason.
She's on sex workers' comp, but if you got the money, she's willing to romp in any season. Then the mayor of St. Mark's at First Avenue. You look at him, he looks right back at you. Eye to eye, he turns the screw in your spare change. It knows just what to do. Then there's the mayor of Pitt and Stanton. Flew here from Cleveland, or did she drive in from Scranton? Found a job, married a local. Lost the job, divorced the local. She hasn't quit, she's got the grit, she's still standing. Then there's the mayor of Houston, not Houston. The envy of all envy. The very first his and her, his and her. And they're all mayors, living life shackle-free. And these mayors in their own ways, they just want to be perceived, myself included, not as players out to con, swindle, and deceive, but as modest micro-mini mayors, integral to showcasing and maintaining the many layers of the putrid, perfect places and pride, not listed in your tourist guide, of the Lower East Side. Now, then there's the worst mayor of all. The ex-prosecutor turned prostituter of truth and public trust. Known recently as the man whose head was dripping the color of rust. Who can't stop saying the latest election was thievery and a bust. Yes, that's right. Rotten Apple Rudy. The mayor with a gun.
Bang! Mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. Rudy, mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. Rudy, mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun, gun, mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. Dancing in front of me are the ghosts of past revolutionaries. We're heading toward a youth root movement generation. A youth root movement generation. Dancing in front of me are the ghosts of past revolutionaries. We're heading toward a youth root movement generation.
Dancing in front of me.
Ooh, we're coming to a youth root movement generation.
Mayor with a gun, 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 gun, mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. A mayor is voted out of office, dinked, dunked, Dinkins, toting a plastic tech toy 9, pleading, it's not a make-believe weapon in the eyes of someone thinking crime. He's asking for peace and reduction, while another mayor gloats in, Adolf Gulagiani, holding a heavy metal handgun, screaming, training, training, training. He says it's a criminal thing, not a color thing. It's a criminal thing, not a color thing. Yet young black gun deaths pop off like cash registers ding, bottle rockets sing, firecrackers fling, to fix the fizz of short-lived lives. Babies thrown from vehicles on bridges of despair. Babies thrown from bridges on vehicles of despair. Earth, nature doesn't care. Thunderstorms erupt like me. Tornadoes twist like me. Floods combust like me. Bombs blow up buildings, not me. Singing, singing. Dancing in front of me are the ghosts of past revolutionaries. We're coming to a youth root movement generation. A fertile youth root movement generation. Mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. Mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. Come on. Mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. Huh, for Rudy, come on. Mayor with a gun, mayor with a gun. 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 A white suburban, a white suburban joyride ends. A friend flies through the car window, dies in the gully below. I grab my shotgun, my agony is deep blast, 2 rounds into the sky. Lead falls and flies, and then I turn the gun to face myself, and my white American mind is a suicide and denial, a brown baby's death, a suburban joyride, a mayor with a gun, a mayor with a gun, a mayor with a gun, 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 with a giddy gun, gotta get a gun, get a gun, get a gun. Wow, Robert, you're on fire. Dang. Thanks, Ma. Yes, compensatory education classes, as I just told you, that ruled me first. But I wanted a situation that was considered even more adverse. The gold standard of abuse and perverse. Rikers Island Jail. For those of you who haven't heard of Rikers, and if you have, there's some facts that I'd like to share with you. It's considered the largest penal colony in the world. It's located in the East River, next to the runways of LaGuardia Airport in Queens, New York, where planes take off flight, and they lift off and they fly directly overhead of those who are detained. And they can see with their own eyes jumbo jets disappear into the open blue skies. Rikers is just larger than the Greek island of Mykonos. Rikers is 4 times the size of Vatican City.
And to be precise, it sits on 413 acres of toxic landfill and has been leaking methane gas for over half a century, so much so that even today, the chemical odor regularly sets off gas detectors. It consists of 10 jails. It's got its own power plant, gas station, bus station, bakery, barbershop, baseball field, laundromat, car wash, and it houses an average of 10,000 inmates on any given day. And it boasts a prison barge tethered to the island, holds another 800 incarcerated individuals. More than 80% of the people confined there have not been convicted of a crime, innocent until proven guilty. It costs New York City approximately $1,500 a day to detain one person at Rikers Island. This is $500,000 a year per person to house somebody on Rikers Island Jail. And that costs more than a 4-year education at Yale, Georgetown, or Columbia University. But spend 6 months or 3 days in Rikers and you'll get yourself a master's degree. And this is the place where Gulagiani and the like call our youth the worst of the worst. But I see them as perhaps the best of the best. Why? More on that later. For now, I'm going to the infamous Rikers Island Jail, where I get to go in and out on the same day, no required bail. And every time I'm on my way, I call my mom to say, "Hey Mom, I'm going to jail." "What, Robert, what happened? Did they catch you with weed? Were you drinking? I know you like to have a weed. Did you get pulled over having a weed and drunk driving, Robert?" "Mom, drunk driving, take a breath. They gave you a breathalyzer? What? Robert, you heard about that drunk driver?" "Yeah, Mom, I heard about that drunk driver." "Did you hear about that drunk driver? Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that drunk driver?" He walked out of the club, unlocked his car, unlocked his club, rolled the window down, turned the AC on, rolled down the street to a red light stop sign, plate glass window, mumbling something about his teeth, pieces of brain being stuck in the dashboard. "Did you hear about that drunk driver? Did you hear about that drunk driver? She didn't pull out the 9mm or the gat. She pulled out of her parking space, sped up the curb, skipped the sidewalk, and clamped a produce organizer to his fruit bin. Have you heard about that drunk driver? Bum, bum, bum. Biddly biddly bottom, bottom, bum bum bum, biddly biddly bottom, bottom. Did you hear about that drunk driver? He crushed a Mickey Mouse toy. You heard about that drunk driver? Hey, you heard about that drunk driver? He was at the club. He said, "Gee, I love this place. The music, the beer, the smoke, the booze, the people, the lights, the vaping, the beats, the happy hour treats. I think I'll have another beer, 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 another beer. Celebration shot. Another beer, 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 another beer. Celebration shot. Did you hear about that drunk driver? She drove right through herself. Bum bum bum. Biddly biddly bottom, bottom. He slipped into his coat. He slipped into his truck. He slipped into a coma. Did you hear about that drunk driver? You heard about that drunk driver? He saw the police beam flash so bright in his eyes. He finally thought he saw the light. He thought he saw a putty cat. He thought he saw a putty cat in the middle of the road, and he did. So he swerved into the forest where he landed next to a toad. Said, "I bet I can belch louder than you. Have you heard about that drunk driver?" He kissed his wife's beautiful lips, placed the gorgeous framed photograph of her face down upon the casket. She brought the family reunion to the grave. Did you hear about that? 1, 2, 3, 4, drunk driver! "Robert, what happened?" "Mom, I didn't drink. I didn't have a weed. I'm going to jail to teach." "Oh, Robert, you never stop teasing. You're going to feed the people, aren't you?" "I'm going to feed the people, Mom." That was our running joke, feed the people. When I was 8 years old, I was chosen to read a passage at a congregation, and the passage was titled, "Jesus Feeds the People." "You know who he's feeding, don't you, Rob?" "The people, right, Mom?" "Yeah, but the people he's feeding are the same people you're feeding, Rob. People accused of stealing, mugging, robbing, sorry, Rob, murder, rape, Ponzi schemers, traffickers, lawyers." "Oh, Ma, lay it out." "All the people that are thought are irredeemable, but they deserve a chance at redemption, Robert, and you know that." "Redemption, Mom, a second chance, I know that." And 8-year-old me, way back then, told my mom, I'm gonna memorize the Jesus feeds the people passage and recite it from memory, Ma. 2 weeks before the ceremony, she says,
That's okay, Robert, but read it over and over every night before you go to bed and keep a copy of it in your back pocket, just in case you forget the words.
So I took her advice and I read it,
Over and over, every night for 2 weeks.
but I didn't put it in my back pocket. And I knew she knew that, and she was terrified when I got up to speak, but I nailed it. There's no way to say it other than that. I didn't miss a word. Jesus feeds the people. And this astounded my mom so much that she repeated the story for the next 50 years.
Remember, Rob? It was incredible. I mean, I couldn't believe it. You walked right up there in front of everyone, and you didn't even have it in your back pocket, Robert. Wow, you knew every word. I mean, really.
And as I attempt to feed the people, those young people that my 90-year-old Roman Catholic Italian mom says are redeemable and are not to be forgotten, as I attempt to ease some of the persistent pain provided by that private public domain, the New York City Department of Corrections. Correction. Department of Complexions. The darker the skin tone, the deeper the erection, the harder the hard-on to go hard on faces that don't pale in reflection. See the crystal clear connection? I wish it were duller, this casualty of color that I witnessed through my whiteness at the Department of Complexions. So, for about a decade, Robert, not Bob, feeds the people. Bang. Riding on a bus into Rikers Island on the narrow 1-mile-long bridge that's the only way in and the only way out. And I show up with the supplies that I have in my backpack that a gang I'm a member of provided me with. That's right, I didn't tell you all. I was in a gang, too. I'm still in it. The toughest gang in New York City, actually. We call ourselves LIT. L-I-T. The majority of the seniority in this gang are a group of retired librarians at the nonprofit Literacy for Incarcerated Teens, LIT. And it took about 10 years of showing up to Rikers before Rikers Island decided they had enough of me. And bang, I was accused of smuggling in contraband. Aye, that's right, smuggling contraband, matey. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants. Wrong Bob, no Bob here. Rob or Robert. Different show.
That's right, Rob.
Now, you might think that the contraband included drugs, pot, pills, coke, cannabis, weed, meth, molly, mushrooms, MDMA, ketamine, speed, illicit items in high demand, but no, no, no. That pirate booty didn't make the list of my contraband. I was accused of bootlegging an even more dangerous pirate booty, you scallywags. So brace yourself for what I tell you next, mateys, because I was accused of smuggling sugar-me timbers, the dangerous and volatile black market items. Skittles, Snickers, Starburst, and sometimes Ricola. Bang! Yo-ho-ho! And those are not code names for narcotic buried treasure. They are what they are, measure for measure. Skittles, Snickers, Starburst, and sometimes Ricola. Yeah, everyone. Ricola. There's nothing like watching a 17-year-old hardened gangbanger from the South Bronx when you hand him a Ricola and everything changes because he looks up and goes, Ricola. It's one of the best feelings in the world. Oh, there's more on the list, though, as I quickly moved on to more forbidden contraband. The Pursuit of Happiness, The Color Purple, Hidden Figures, The Secret, classics like It's a Wonderful Life and Ben-Hur, Cornbread Earl and Me. Bang! And I followed that up with powerhouse gateway drugs like paper, pads, pencils, poetry, plays, stage plays, magazines, biographies. And the funny thing about the smuggling accusations is I was never accused of smuggling. Now, I was never accused of smuggling frozen Eskimo pies, packed in dry ice and then camouflaged in layers of soft cover books so the young women and girls that could take that first bite of ice cream that they told me they hadn't had that taste in over 18 months. Bang! I was never accused of smuggling fresh basil, peppermint, and lavender picked from my community garden plot and concealed in between the pages of biography of Malcolm X and Lord of the Flies. No. And why? Why would I smuggle a potpourri of fresh herbs into Rikers Island Jail? Because over the years, I have met scores of incredibly innovative chefs throughout every cell block on Rikers who generously shared their gastronomic genius. That's why. So I was happy to share my own homegrown herbaceous snippets of cilantro, oregano, and rosemary to accent their fine, confined cookery. And through their benevolent teachings, I was taught how to prepare and whip up an array of unique culinary delights, and some of them I'd like to share with you right now. This one was actually taught to me by a corrections officer named Howie. It's called Big Apple Pipe Fitter Fritters. It's an easy 8-minute meal prep. Here's the recipe. 1 slice days-old stale bread marinated in tap water, laced with white sugar and minced brown apples, sprinkled with a 3-ingredient glaze which blew my mind for days. Splenda, salt, and more bleached sugar. Bang! This culinary treat is then placed on a dusty overhead pipe that heats up at a certain time of day. Slow, slow cooking until it's time to feast away. Bang! Another recipe, what I call sad snacks. It's mad stacks of grape jelly, still holding the form of the giant cylindrical can ridges. It's artfully muddled with packets of hot sauce and ketchup. I'm not making it up. Grape jelly, ketchup, and hot sauce. A magical mucky mix made by adolescent wits for an unimaginable hunger fix. And for hours and hours and hours in a steel gray pan, the spicy jaundice jelly sits. Bang. Oh, and to satisfy those of us with a palate for seafood, there's the low effort, no effort tuna eclipse. Also, we call it black tuna. It could be metal gray, dark brown, or basic black. It's supposed to be tuna fish, but that's a debatable fact. It's plopped in a dented and dinged stainless steel pot. It's set out on a table to be scooped up by hand, sometimes with bread, most times not. And it sits spoiling, souring, left to rot as time passes throughout the day, a discolored, noxious bastard buffet. Bang. And of course, following these exquisite Epicurean experiences, we need to have an after-dinner smoke, right? So we gather together and we have what's called a mop smoking session. There's no recipe, but there's instructions, so here's the lesson. Yank a strand of a mop, strip a wire from a pair of headphones, insert the wire into the electrical outlet, wiggle it, jiggle it till it sets off a spark. It's a flash that ignites that selected single string of germ-drenched yarn, and we puff, and we laugh, and we huff, and we pass this viral cotton tress of mop shared and savored like sweet nicotine, or a hit of cannabis, or a bottle of pop, with no one mindful that the makeshift cigarette is drenched in sweeping, swapping, toxic slop. Arr! Bang!
Oh, Robert.
Oh, there's more, Mom. I continued to counter these barbaric, pathetic images by trafficking in another great way drug. Music. USB thumb drives packed with hundreds of songs by artists like Lil Durk, K Flock, BLP Kosher, Polo G, and ABK Schwish. Come on, you're all hip-hop heads. You know these things. You know these guys. Yeah. So picture entering the day after day after day after day after day after day room filled with scowling, frowning, hopeless, angst-ridden boys, arguing, glaring, snapping, believing this is the way. This is the climate that I attempt to change. And when I plug the music in, the room flips. No more arguing, no more riffs. It's now a jovial, jamming, safe space, jumping with laughter, high fives, sing-alongs, dancing, and multiple bum fists. And the guys and I are dancing together, and one female identifying guard pulls me aside, and I think she wants to dance. And oh yeah, her divine feminine energy singular in this room of masculine teen spirit. But she wants to tell me something in private. Oh, and I'm thinking, oh damn it, now what? I don't want to hear it. Mr. G, I'm so glad you came in today. These kids light up when they're in your class. And you know, you do your thing, it makes our job a lot easier. So thank you. Oh, you're welcome. But it's not me, CO. Corrections officer, CO. Look at them. It's the music. Yeah, well, you bring it. And in the midst of our rejoicing, melodies and music, there's one lone kid who isn't getting enough. It's never going to be perfect. And he's a kid, actually, I see on the outside from time to time. So he knows how to test me, and he knows in the end we'll ultimately be fine. But right now, he wants to beef. Start to throw hands. He's looking to brawl. He says he's not satisfied unless he gets into 2, 3, 4, 5 fights. 5 fights. Bang! I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights. I got in 5 fights today. Renting a bicycle in this town is murder. Watched a pit bull steal a baby carriage the other day. 2 squirrels mugged an old lady. Wiped my butt, saw a cockroach in the toilet paper. Told me about a boa constrictor kicked over a vendor's table. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights. I got in 5 fights. This kid, he hit me in the jaw. He made this mark on my jaw. I was standing there with my left hand on his throat tube, popping it in and out like a soda can. My right hand up in the sky, a clump of sun shining through it. And I felt like I was sitting by a fire somewhere, beating it rhythmically, feeding it senselessly. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights today. Hit me. I got in 5 fights today. From the top. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights today. Two other guys, one I showed you, make this mark. I got in 5 fights. My brother builds machine parts and cigarette filters. Daycare centers have the same enrollment as funeral homes. It's poison in your ass at the public pools. It's poison in class at the public schools. I have a cousin, he's 3. I fought him. Before that, it was play fights because his head was too little or it would crush. I got in 5 fights. I got in 5 fights. I got in 5 fights. Birds have to be tough to live around here. They must be going through some serious changes. Changes like you and me go through. Wondering while chirping, what is it we're fighting for? My name means something in the Bible. Page 247. Please. Someone flutter through me. Twist my heart to a bumblebee. Let the fuzz, buzz, buzz carry me away. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights today. One more time. I got in 5 fights today. I got in 5 fights today. It was a 5-fight day. Now, the biggest, baddest contraband of all, myself. Just showing up. And how I learned this was to be stunningly simple. After a session one day, as I was leaving, I said to a student, "I'll see you next week." He said, "Aight." And I walked out of the day room to the never-ending echoes of the nonsensical radio banter, intermingling with infinite jail keys jangling and someone going off, a distressed, helpless ranter, underscored by the archaic, grimy doors and their ceaseless, violent banging. And when I returned the next week, I was greeted by the same student. "Oh shit, you came back." I said, "Yeah, of course I came back." He said, "I told you I was coming back." "Yeah, everyone says they're coming back. No one ever comes back, but you did, Mr. Galinsky. You show up." And it made me think when I was a kid, hearing about my father, actually hearing him, not even about, he waking up at 2 a.m., getting out of bed, getting out of his pajamas to go to the pharmacy he owned, Saul's prescription center, answering a phone call at 2 in the morning to fill a patient's prescription, getting in his car and delivering the drugs to their home in the middle of the night, on any given night. When a call came in, Saul would answer the phone. The act of showing up, coming back, means everything to people. These kids, and it quickly meant everything to me. And that day when I left again, I said, "I'll be back next week." And he gave me the warmest smile, and he actually gave me a hug. He said, "I know you will, Mr. G." And I left the unit and began walking down one of those long, endlessly long corridors on Rikers. And the canine team, with their leashed therapy dog, passed me by. There's a program where caring for animals addresses our basic narcissistic needs, and through compassion, the kids can build bridges to love and heal themselves. And for 1 second, I was feeling good about myself, feeling that kid's love, which is something you cannot afford to do in Rikers Island Jail. And I disregarded my situational awareness training, peripheral vision, know where the doors are, who's behind you. And the comfort dog, a snarling pit bull, found his emotional support by biting my hand and shaking his head in an attempt to loosen my arm from my body. And we had this frightening little tug-of-war, and all the while, the CO is laughing. This is the 5th time he attacked somebody this week. Oh, bang! Robert feeds the pit bulls. No.
Mom, Robert, are you okay? I would have quit right there.
I'm okay, Mom. So I'm cruising along, month after month, year after year,
And I knew I'd been walking a fine firing line through rule books, disdainful looks, metal detectors, the mandatory x-ray scans, rabid dogs nipping at my hand. But with my backpack packed, with the gear from my gang lit, incentive-based plans, I'm resolved to lift my students, opposing all these pessimistic bands. And I call them students, clients, teens, people, kids, as opposed to the lazy libel labels of inmate, convict, monster, thug, pigs. And then one day, until one day, I reached a tripping point, the tipping point, where I was told I had committed the supreme abomination, an almighty violation. One day, as I was being scanned through the metal detector by the front gate guard, and this is truly, literally, a AAA moment. What's that in your bag? What? What's in your bag? What do you mean? Looks like there's metal in your bag. He points to the image on the x-ray machine. Are those AAA batteries? That's considered contraband. Another C word. I have to confiscate that. That don't make no sense. Now, inside jail, batteries cost 3 to 4 times more than they do outside. Everything costs 3 to 4 times more. So they're really great as incentives, right? Like Skittles, Starburst, Snickers, and... Man, wake up. It's motivation to get the students to read and write. If they participate, officer, the batteries are awarded, and it allows their earpods to function. They can actually hear the music and the movies and the TV that's playing instead of walking around in circles in frustration all damn day. There's an obvious calm when the music plays and they can hear it because the batteries are in their earpods. Now, doesn't that make sense, officer, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Normal, hear the music. Yeah, people use batteries to listen to music. What's your name and ID? Oh, your ID number. Galinsky, 4219X. Well, 4219X, Galinsky, they use the batteries to start fires. They use the batteries to listen to music. They use the batteries to start fires. You know, Galinsky, you trust too much and you know too little. Well, with all due respect, officer, he covers the badge. Forget about it. Well, officer, forget about it. You trust too little and know too much. We both know what they use the batteries for, Galinsky. Yeah, officer, forget about it, we do. And we see the captains, we see the COs, give them out sometimes, too. Because we all know, they all know, and you all know, the students use the batteries to listen to music, and it calms them down. Have a good tour, Galinsky, 4291X. And within the hour of that groundbreaking, productive exchange with that AAA asshole, bang, I was kicked off the island. Given the heave-ho, thrown overboard, told to weigh anchor, and set sail off into the sunset. Scupper the buccaneer, Galinsky. Extradited without discussion or debate. Told never to return or I'd be placed under arrest and they would incarcerate. I'd be in the very facility where I was hired to educate. Banned from Rikers. Bang, I can never return. Unless you're a drunk driver, Robert. True amount. Well, who cares, right? These kids are the worst of the worst, remember? The media says so, the politicians say so, America's mayor says so. The worst of the worst. Bang. But I see the worst of the worst as conceivably the best of the best. Why? Because they have to try harder than so many of us. Because they're born into extraordinary trauma, and they're growing up in a system that feeds on the constant rotation of bodies in beds, in cells, and facilities funded by local, state, and feds. Residential secure centers, deftly designed to destroy dreams and hope. And this opens my eyes, and it frightens me the most. This has given me a severe case of foink. Yeah, foink. You're looking at me like you don't know what foink is. F-O-Y-N-K, foink. Fear of you not knowing. Fear of you not knowing. Do you have foink? Have you seen my foink, my fear of you not knowing? I know if you did, I think you would like it. It's a photo upload of a salad with mango, blue cheese,
Drizzle, truffle, fennel, parsnip, a kerfuffle of pignoli, orderly lateral arugula, pulverized pistachio, ridiculous amounts of radicchio. You have to know, I want you to know, I'm talking salads that have knees to get down on. Bang. They're a window into me. Through my fruits, my veggies, my greens, my nuts. Have you seen my foink? My fear of you not knowing? It's a snapshot, airdrop of a sunset from the deck of the blue ocean cruise I booked. And you can see my feet up on the railings in the photo. A screen grab at the tip of my toes, pedicure fresh, neither foot flailing, and the corner of a book I borrowed from Jefferson Market Library. That I'm not really reading, but makes for great literary signaling as a photo op. All of it basking in the foreground of a vibrant, instant, AI filtered nightfall, twilight, dusk. You have to know. I want you to know. I'm talking sunsets that have knees to get down on. Bang. We want the funk. Have you seen my foink? We want the funk. Have you seen my foink? I know you want to do that one. Let's do it. We want the funk. Have you seen my foink? We want the funk. It's how I mostly post. It's what I had for lunch, brunch. I have a hunch and hope you'll like it. Did you like it? Did you like it? Like it? Did you like it? I wanna take you higher. Bang! I almost ordered, but I didn't, because I needed you to know it was my keto diet day. Keto. I almost ordered, pictured and posted, but I didn't. A hero. On focaccia, stacked with prosciutto, ham, salami, sopressata, provolone, mozzarella, pecorino, olive oil, capers, basil, oregano. No mayo. No mayo, it's Italiano. I want you to know. I need you to know I'm talking heroes, superheroes that have knees to get down on. Did you like it? It's what I post the most. It's what I had for lunch. Brunch, and I have a hunch that you'll like it, my foink. I'm talking salads, sunsets, heroes. I'm talking my fear of you not knowing. Fear that has knees to get down on. As a matter of fact, my foink is what drove me to write this show and to share it with you. My fear of you not knowing. How everything in New York goes bang. Our city bikes, our kids, our COs, our mayors, our wild schools. Ooh, 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 ooh. Our pirates too. I came into this world kicking and screaming, covered in love. Feeding the people, and I haven't stopped and I won't stop. Bang! Victor Hugo says, open a school door, close a prison. So I'll continue to keep coming back. I'll continue to keep showing up for what I believe in. It's my leverage of my privilege to show up and serve. Bang! And every prison door that closes behind me, we will open a world, a library, a heart, a school for the best of the best in the belly of the beast. And if I have to, I'm going to leave the way I came in, kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming, while everything in New York goes bang. Fuck you, Galinsky. Shame on you, Galinsky. What about the victims' families, Galinsky? The real victims of the families. They're the ones in prison, and they're never going to get out. They're the real casualties. These teens aren't the victims. And I'm talking about the teens your own mother pointed out. The murderers, the traffickers, the rapists. Oh yeah, I know. They're all victims of the system, deftly designed to destroy all hope. And you're so amazing for doing such great things with your bleeding heart, liberal, poetic glibness, pining for forgiveness. Shame on you, Galinsky. While you pat yourself on the back for comforting this redemption, where's your foink now, huh? Where's your fear of not knowing? About Minghu Yu, the Columbia University student, who's killed by a car as he was chased into traffic, chased by one of your beloved teenagers playing the knockout game. You know, the fun game where the kids sneak up on you and try to knock you out with one punch? Listen to his father. I'm his father. He was our light, our future, our hope.
We face every day with the unspeakable loss of joy in our lives. Our suffering and anguish is indescribable. Bang, victim. Or Natalie Holloway, Galinsky. A girl on her high school graduation trip in Aruba got her head, skull smashed in with a cinder block, leaving her parents fighting for 18 years to bring to account her killer. Listen to her mother. I'm her mother. He terminated my daughter's potentials, her dreams, her possibilities. The grief I feel lives way down deep in my soul. Bang, victim. How about this one? The 33-year-old woman lured from an internet cafe right here downtown, brutally raped in a stairwell by 3 of your coveted teens. She's just an unnamed 33-year-old woman, beaten and bleeding, stumbling into a deli, begging for help in the stench of blood and pastrami. Bang, victim. None of them are going to have the opportunity, the second chance to earn a college degree like your teens, your clients. All day long, the best of the best sit around and play checkers, chess, watch TV, listen to music, go to school, get an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's degree. Because as they say in prison, Galinsky, don't count the days, make the days count. But the families, all day long, they count the days that no longer count. Now look at your face, your foink. Your expression shows fear of it. You not knowing that you are fucking up families for life with your platitudes for punks and your high and mighty white savior behavior bullshit. Fuck you, Galinsky. Bang. That's the sound of a prison door against your head. Kicking and screaming, screw you. You're a disgrace. You're a sin. Comforting these monsters. Mom. Mom, help me, Mom. I'm trying, Mom. What do I do? Thank you.
Thank you.